We'll go ahead and get started. We'll call the meeting to order. Welcome everybody to the September work session of the Monroe County Council for 2020. It's September 22nd, 5:31 p.m. We'll do a quick roll call of council members present for the record. So please state your name, that you're present when I call your name. Councilmember Deckard?
Here.
Councilmember Hawk?
Present.
Councilmember Iverson?
Here.
Councilmember McKim?
Here.
Councilmember Munson?
Here.
Councilmember Wiltz?
Here.
All right, we have everybody accounted for. So we'll
Everybody.
We'll
Plus an extra.
yeah.
Plus, yeah.
An extra.
A feline
Right.
here, a canine extra.
Very good. Okay, so we've got a pretty manageable agenda tonight, I believe. I don't think we're going to be here nearly as late as we were a couple of Fridays ago. So should have a pretty smooth meeting. Our first item is going to be department updates. I know we've got a couple of departments that would like to provide updates this evening. We'll start with our county commissioners, I believe. And it looks like Commissioner Julie Thomas is with us. Welcome, Commissioner Thomas.
Thank you so much. I'm going to borrow the screen for a quick PowerPoint, if I might.
Sure.
Everybody see that?
Yes.
Excellent. Okay. So we wanted to present to you tonight the general information on the proposed bond, and we wanted to get your input on this, and just to let you know what we're thinking about doing. And this will be coming to your October regular session meeting. So we have, I'm missing a slide. Oh, I know what I did. Give me 1 second here. I'm going to give you the general information screen to begin with. We'll start there and we'll go from there. All right, so on the fly, here we go. So just a breakdown of what we're looking at this time around, we have a couple of hefty items, no pun intended, for the highway department. We have heavy trucks and heavy equipment. So I'll talk about each of these in a moment. This is just the overview. Support vehicles, 3 projects for the Parks Department, a TSD equipment item, Sheriff's Department equipment, commissioners, we have 2 passenger vehicles, and the remodeling and moving of 2 of our departments, Highway Department and Surveyor, and then a trail connector is the last item. And the total, this would be a $3 million bond. So you'll notice just from this overview that the focus is on public safety, public service, and ensuring that we are responsive to our residents' needs, and to ensure that our government processes in our communities not interrupted when there's a problem. So first item on here is the heavy equipment. We were asked to provide some life expectancies for some of these items. So we have 2 Kenworth tandems and 3 Kenworth single axles. These are going to be dump trucks with snow plows. Now this is a MVH lease, and the first payment is due, lease to purchase, and the first payment is due next week. So the MVH payment will be made for $284,000 next week, which leaves this total of $447,380, and that's what we're going to go ahead and put in the bond. And what that does then is it frees up MVH money for other items that would normally be spent on things like this, they can go to paving or other projects. So it will be a benefit to the MVH fund. So we do have a number of support vehicles, including pickup trucks, this beauty of a 1986 tractor with a side mower on it. We have some old items to replace. This small bucket truck here would be a new item. And we have a larger one, we need a smaller one, and a shorter truck. This would be for things like trees and tree limb issues, signal repairs, signage repairs, things like that. So you can see some of our items we're using SUVs for things where we really need pickup trucks. We're using 1986 mowers, and we have a 1996 brush chipper, and a truck that has 200,000 miles on it. So these are really important things that we replace. We want to make sure our crews are there safely, and we want to make sure that all of our equipment is in top working order. So these are all important items, and the total here is 955,000. So this is a huge piece of the bond. Karst Farm Park, there are 3 projects related to Karst Farm Park for Parks Department. There's one item which will improve accessibility to ADA guidelines between the park and the trails and the parking lot itself. The big item here is replacing playground number 1, which was originally built in 1995. This will provide new surface and new components. All of this will be ADA compliant. And the patriotic corner where the flags are, this is going to be sort of a reinstall, remodel, and this will also be to ADA standards. Next item is for the Justice Building. This is going to replace the core switches. The current is 9 years old. It's a $150,000 project. This is about our security, because this is what our firewall runs through, and it's important to get this updated. This project alone is $150,000. For the Sheriff's Department, we have some safety items. So new radios in the vehicles. The current ones are 15 years old. They should only last about 10 years. We've gotten a lot of wear and tear out of them, but they do need to be replaced. The portable radios are in sorry shape. We need to replace those. It's gotten to the point where the models that we have are sold that Motorola will no longer repair the current models. And one item here is a narcotic analyzer. This will ensure an accurate reading on any suspected element. Right now, the Sheriff's Department either have to call in the state police to use their narcotic analyzer, or we have to send it to the lab and wait a very long time. So this is about accuracy. It's about speed for both the accused and for the officers and for the courts. And especially, and most importantly, this is about deputy safety, because it does not require the handling of the actual product, because some of that can be incredibly dangerous. So this is $362,658. We have a couple of vehicles on our list for the Commissioner's Office. We need to get a fleet pool vehicle. And we would like to replace the YSB passenger van with the ADA lift. That definitely needs to be done. And that total is $115,000. And we have a plan to move a few departments about a little bit to make government operations much more efficient. So first, we'd like to move the surveyor to the Showers building near planning and building, but also we would like to move highway and stormwater offices out to the highway garage area. Now that we have the new building out there, the other people who were using that office space are vacating. We would like to have everybody together in that location. And Lisa Ridge is very happy about this plan and would like this to happen. So we're going to work to make it happen. This will involve some remodeling. It will involve things like carpeting. It'll involve furniture and things like that. We will make sure that the highway department is accessible for the general public. We'll make sure that there's a good customer-facing counter at the highway garage, but then this also makes the surveyor much more accessible for the public rather than being up in the attic at the health building. We have this tagged at $357,862. So remodeling, new furniture, things like that. It'll probably involve a new wall in the showers building as well. The surveyor won't need all the space that the highway department had. And we have 3 possible projects on our list for the trail connection, and most likely it looks like the Liberty Constitution connection. And we have $300,000 set aside for that. So let's see if you all have any questions. I'll go back to the main list, see if anybody has any questions or comments, and see if what else anybody has for us you'd like us to consider.
All right. Well, thank you, Commissioner Thomas, for that thorough and informative presentation there. I appreciate having those visuals and all the additional information. I think it looks like a great list of items that really emphasize public safety, infrastructure, and accessibility in the county. So I'm sure we will have some comments and questions here. Mr. McKim, would you like to get started?
Yes, actually, my question isn't about the project list per se, but it's about the process. I was just wondering if either you, Commissioner Thomas, or maybe somebody from legal can just go over all of the steps so that we and the public know exactly when the points of approval are.
Okay. I don't have the dates, but I do know that we are planning, I don't know, Jeff Cockrell, are you on the call? Or Margie?
I am actually on the call, but I also don't have the dates. Let me look and see if Jeff Cockrell has sent them to us in an email.
Okay.
And if you want to sort of fill in, I will. While I'm looking, I'll see.
So I'm going to look as well, but I will tell you that while I'm looking that indeed this needs to go through a process where it needs council approval, but also the Board of Commissioners will need to pass it. So in each of these circumstances, there's some additional money set aside for the administrative fees of the bond counsel. And that's already part of the bond that we're looking for is actually a little over $3 million to accommodate that additional cost. So that's already rolled into the total bond request. And I'm going to look here for see if I got mail from So
I do not see that he has sent an out.
Yeah, he had talked about doing that. This would be done by the end of the year, though. I know that, and that's why I know that we have to. And Angie can't find it either. So I do know that we want to get this done before the end of the year. And this replaces another bond that's falling out. So it's the same rate. So residents will see it's the same rate. They're not going to have a rate increase on the bond side of things.
Okay, we just want to make sure that as soon as we get those dates, we get that publicized so that people know when public hearings are going to be. So
absolutely,
that's good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Councilmember Hawk.
Yes, this is the first I've seen anything on this list at all, but wanted to ask if you had considered the youth services to be paid for out of their fund, which is possible, I would think. I mean, I know that you're not supposed to be doing major capital like building or anything out of their fund, but I would think we ought to be able to do any replacement of vehicles because that's a part of operation.
That's a very good idea, actually.
Well, we can definitely look into that. That would give us more that would give us some additional funds for something else related to highway or parks. So that would be never a bad thing. So I will look into that. Thank you, Councilor Hawk.
Councilmember Wiltz?
Yes, I was just wondering about the one vehicle for pool, I believe you said. Are you thinking electric?
Yes, I am. Yeah, we're looking at that. I think what we want to do is we hopefully will get the mechanic in, and I would like to have that discussion with the mechanic. But electric vehicles take a lot less maintenance because they don't need oil. And so things like brakes and tires are the same, of course. So, but it would be good, I think, to bounce the idea of and which brand, which model they would prefer. It would be interesting to see what they think. I chose the Leaf on here because that's the one with the largest battery range, but you know.
Cool. Okay,
Yeah.
great.
Councilmember Iverson?
Thank you, Commissioner. Can you remind us for the trail connection, where that connection would take place within the county and how big of a project that would be?
Yeah, I don't have the exact cost, but it is, so that's in the Liberty Drive area, Constitution, and there are others near TAP, which are on the possible list, but those are not far along. So that's why we think it's likely going to be the Constitution Liberty pathway. It's just a connector. It is not it's not its own trail system or anything like that.
May I just explain a little bit more on that one?
Yes.
That's the purpose of this particular trail would be to connect the side path that goes along 2nd Street, Bloomfield Road and ends at Liberty, connects that to the Karst Farm Greenway. So it would basically be connecting essentially the city trail network or the city multi-use path network along Bloomfield Road to the county's Karst Farm Greenway.
Great.
Great.
On timing, I looked back for last year. We didn't do the notice of intent to sell bonds until October 23rd of last year. So my guess is, and Julie, you said you were going to be coming with more detail to the next formal meeting of the council, is that right?
Not necessarily more detail, but we can have more detail if anything's needed. I guess that's why we wanted to bring it here now during department updates to see if there were ideas or if there was other information that's needed. I'll probably go through the list a little more slowly. I'm just trying to be attentive to the time, restraints.
I totally get it. I was just, you did mention the next meeting. Was that?
Yes, the October council meeting,
October 13th.
regular meeting.
13th.
Right. Thank
Okay.
you. Yeah, for council approval, but that's why I wanted to bring it now, just to.
And
We wanted to see what ideas there were out there, if there are any suggestions or anything else.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And I think it would be good for council members just to be, kind of mulling this over in the meantime and thinking about it. And I'm sure either Commissioner Thomas or Ms. Purdy would be happy to field any additional questions, or anybody else in the commissioner's office. So be thinking about that and send those questions or thoughts along to the commissioners. Councilmember Munson.
Yes, I didn't catch the number of radios. Could you flip back to that slide?
Happy to.
I think I was focused on the narcotics analyzer. Okay, 30 new mobile and 38 portable. Do the radios have different uses?
So no, one's in the vehicle and one's with the officer, but but you want both to work for different scenarios
Yeah.
and different environments, right?
That-
The ones
that's-
that are portable, the truly portable, right, the handhelds are really, they really take a beating because there's so much, you know, they get easily dropped and, you know, they're built very well, but they are used quite well as well. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, thank you.
Councilmember Decker?
Thank you very much, and thank you for being here, Commissioner Thomas. I understand it in recalling a conversation with the sheriff about the radios. This would be the extent of the need of the request for replacement for radios. Is that, at least on the portable, is that your understanding as well?
Yes, so this takes care of all of the deputies and the deputies' vehicles. This will replace the entire group of both the vehicle and the portable.
Thank you.
Okay, any further questions or, yes, Councilmember Hawk?
Yes, I would like very much to get a list. Could you just send that out to
Sure,
all of us?
sure, we'll do that. I'll Angie can send the Excel spreadsheet, and then if you have questions, just contact any of us. We're happy to
Okay.
help.
This evening?
I can ask her.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, and we'll make this available to anybody who wants it. I mean, this is all very public information.
Absolutely. Yeah, Angie said she can get that list out to you tonight.
Great.
So, yeah, she'll be sending that out, and then yes, we will be talking about this at your next meeting, October. Not the budget work, not the budget hearings, but actually your regular meeting in October, and then also at the commissioners' meeting. So there's going to be a couple of opportunities for the public to give input, and of course, we always welcome public input or questions. Just email commissioner's office at co.monroe.in.us.
Now, will this be on your agenda at all for tomorrow? Will there be
No.
any discussion? Okay,
Mm-mm.
future meetings.
No, you get the preview.
Yep,
You're lucky.
very good. Well, thank you so much, Commissioner Thomas. Appreciate you
Thank
joining
you.
us tonight and for all the helpful information, and we look forward to keeping in touch. If there's nothing further, is there anybody have any additional? Okay. So we'll move on now. I believe we have our next department update will be from our auditor's office. Is that right? I see our,
Can you hear me?
yes.
Hello?
Is
Hi,
that
hi, guys.
Auditor Smith?
Hi, Council. Good evening. So I wanted to update you a little bit about the budget. So I wanted to click and show you. You should be, the county TSD is going to pull. I sent them something to show. Okay, so this is our form. This is our budget entry portal for Gateway. And so where we had issues on Friday is because we ran into last week with our budget instead of finishing it the week before. We had a lot of work to do. Of course, all the raises had to go in. And all the changes had to go in. And then all that information is put in on the Form 3 notice to taxpayers so that they can see the date, and it tells them what the total budget is. And we're not going to be able to click on this because it's not clickable. And so when you put the budget estimate in, you can put it in as every single line, or you could put it in the way we used to do it as, and a lot of most auditors still do, the totals of each category. And so since we're in a time crunch, that's what we wanted to do. However, this submit button, which you can't see here, but there's a submit button. Once you click to edit the form, there's a submit button. The submit button got clicked and we got locked out, and there was nobody on Friday at the DLGF that could unlock it. So We have run into a couple issues in that there were some mistakes in the current year financial worksheet from last summer when Kim and Bree were putting that stuff in, I think in August. But we fixed those today, and the budget is in there in the category totals, subcategory totals, and I'm sorry, category totals, not subcategory totals, but category totals and total budget. And then I want to talk to you guys about what goes on Form 3, notice to taxpayers. So what I'm requesting is that we just push everything back 1 week to from the 29th of September for the public hearing to the 6th of October, same time, Zoom, same day of the week, and that we push the budget adoption back exactly 1 week so that the first reading is on Tuesday, the 20th, and the adoption is on Wednesday, the 21st, same time, 5:30 for each meeting. So that pushes just our meeting back or our adoption back 1 week. However, we don't have to have a budget adopted until November 2nd. So obviously the 21st is well within those dates. Nothing has been sent to the paper. Although there was some speculation that it had, there has not. We don't even have to advertise in the paper anymore. We only have to advertise on here. So how do these Tuesdays work out for you guys? And do you feel like they're the dates that you would like to meet and adopt the budget?
Okay. Well, I guess we can check with everyone and see if those dates will work. They work for me. And we're talking same time, 5:30 p.m. Was that right?
5:30 for the 20th and 21st, and 5 o'clock for the 6th. I don't know why 5 o'clock was picked for the 29th, but since it was already picked at 5 o'clock, I'm just suggesting it be 5 o'clock. And I talked to both solid waste and the solid waste Tom Glass, and he said those dates are fine with him. And I spoke with Lori, who checked with the attorneys, and Dustin Dillard at the fire department. They said they're fine with them. I think they sent an email. So if you guys are okay, I would like to just use these dates. And of course, everything would be
one more
by
time.
Zoom.
Just repeat the dates and times so we all have
so
that.
public hearing would be via Zoom, October 6th, which is a Tuesday at 5 p.m. The adoption, the first reading of it, would be Tuesday, October 20th at 5:30. And Wednesday would be the final adoption, Wednesday the 21st at 5:30. And these are only preferences. I'm open to any day, really.
Does anybody have a conflict with these dates, Mr. Deckard?
I would just make note of my ongoing conflict. I'm a teacher on Mondays and Wednesdays. That it is the schedule that I have, and so I had made arrangements for the previous date, but I canceled those arrangements for the Wednesday that we had final adoption. And my preference is always for council to try to do business on nights where I'm not doing that. Now, I don't want to make life around me, and gosh knows we're moving a lot of departments here, but Tuesdays are really ideal for that purpose. Tuesdays and
I
Thursdays.
haven't advertised it yet. So we could go Thursday, the 21st or 22nd, if that's what you wish.
But I don't want to interfere with a district, et cetera. I don't know if that would change that.
Hold on here.
Now, I will tell you the adoption usually goes very fast. It's just usually a few minutes long. Because everything is read on the first meeting, and people are pretty familiar with it, and it's pretty set. So usually that last meeting goes the fastest of anything, and it goes very fast, actually, comparatively speaking. I mean, counselors, would you disagree?
No, but you never. I mean,
typically, but yeah, typically.
What time does your class start, Trent?
I have one that starts at 4:55 and ends at 6:10, and the next one starts at 7.
Would you like to do 4 o'clock on Wednesday, the 21st?
I'm in one before that as well. It goes
okay.
until about 4:30.
Does Wednesday, Thursday work?
Or Tuesday,
everybody?
Thursday? You mean
It's
Tuesday,
Wednesday, we
Thursday,
can't
whatever.
do. Tuesday, Thursday.
Yeah, Tuesday,
Tuesday,
Thursday.
Thursday works for me.
Does anybody have a conflict with Tuesday, Thursday?
I'm
Just
sorry.
no.
What are the dates again?
That would be the 20th and the
21st are the
22nd.
current ones. It'd be
20th and
moved to 20th and 22nd.
Second. Okay. I guess right now I don't have no conflicts.
I'd like to be able to have everybody there if we can. Councilmember Hawk?
Yes, I'm wondering if we'd be better off to move it forward a date so the final adoption is actually on the 21st and Trent can be a part of that. And the reason why I'm saying that is we want to make sure the auditor's office has all the time necessary to make sure that everything gets entered in. And if we delay it even one more day, that's just one more day that they have less in case they run into any problems. We hope there's no problems, but I don't want people to feel like they're not going to have time frame to get this done. We've already been through enough. And we absolutely cannot mess up with the Monroe Fire District. They have to have that budget approved and all that has to get entered. And I just think we need to give staff ample time to get that done. So moving it up a day would be better than moving it back a day, I think. I'm just concerned that we are going to get ourselves in a bind and not get that entered.
So what is your suggestion for dates, Councilmember Hawk?
Look, I don't care when you do it.
Can I say something?
You know, I have Wednesday at 4, always something else, but you know what? County always comes first with me.
Okay, Michelle?
Deb has her hand up, yeah.
Okay, what I would like to see, because DLGF is not open on Fridays. So I don't really relish the idea of adopting it on a Thursday.
Yeah.
I would like to see if we're going to have to do that. The first reading, I don't think is as crucial as the final adoption. So I'm suggesting maybe the 19th and the 20th. And so
Trent
that
has trouble with Mondays. Trent, can you do a
No,
lunch on Monday?
I know, but what I'm saying, if you let me finish, what I'm saying is, the first reading it's just the first reading. Changes can be made if needed, but I don't feel that he needs to be there on that night more than I really would like him there for the Tuesday, because that's when the final adoption is. So I would, and I know that, might hurt him, but it's just the first reading for that Monday. That would give us 2 days if it's adopted, as well as the following week of 4 days in case we do get errors or something trying to upload this into Gateway. That's my opinion. So thank you.
Yeah.
Councilor Hawk?
Yes. She just said what I just said. So thank you, Kim.
Okay.
I think that's.
So the
essential.
suggestion was the 19th and the 20th.
Right.
with
It's
the
essential
19th
that Trent be there
first reading.
for the final adoption. That's the one that you want to make sure you are there. That's where your vote counts.
Well, we
Check with-
will need your signatures on the final adoption.
Yes, on the final, but that first reading
what I'm
is just a painful, long recitation of
It is.
of numbers, of tax rates and levies and budgets.
There's not even a vote taken at that meeting, right?
No.
Yeah.
No. It's just a first reading.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
Sounds like a good plan to me.
19th and 20th.
Okay.
That works.
Does anybody
So
have
that
any
would be
objections to the
5:30.
19th and 20th? If so,
5:30
please,
Monday, the 19th.
first reading Monday, the 19th. Second reading Tuesday, the 20th. Does anybody have any objection to that? If so, please say so now. Okay, that's the plan.
Forever.
At 5 or 5:30?
5:30 for the adoptions.
5:30 for
The
5
reading of the
PM on the
adoptions,
6th.
5 o'clock for the
For the
public
public
hearing.
Okay,
Chip, correct me if I'm wrong.
nope, that's what we've got here.
Mhm.
So that is set. Any other updates on the budget?
No, but I do have another update,
Okay.
but not on the budget. I was wondering if we could go ahead and give you a COVID update real quick.
Sure.
So Bree can get home to her children. Okay, thank you. Hold on.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. So just a couple things. You should have received your revenue report. I sent that to you yesterday. So that updated information should be in your email. And then I'd also like to give you a little update on our CARES and FEMA grants that we're working on. So total Monroe County government expenses isolated that are related to COVID to date, we have isolated $906,392 that we hope will be eligible for reimbursement. Of that amount, we have submitted 2 claims to CARES, and we have been approved for the first claim so far for the amount of $133,000, or I'm sorry, $133,660.02. So we should be receiving that anytime now. I'm still awaiting information on the rest of them. And then as for FEMA, application was submitted. We received a response. They're requesting more information. So we have a deadline for that. We're going to get that into them this week. So we're just working on more details like documentation for future anticipated equipment costs and materials and supplies. For example, like filtration systems, the UV lights to help purify the air and so forth. So we have more of that information now. So we're going to just put that together and submit that this week. We're actually working with a representative from FEMA from the Department of Homeland Security. They're kind of like our support, and she's going to review before we submit to ensure we have everything needed. So that's about all I have for you. Any questions?
Mr. Iverson.
I'll keep this short because I know you need to get going, but
Fine.
when CARES is reimbursing us at that $100,000.02 level, is that 100% reimbursable of what we've requested?
We had 2 charges that were omitted. They were not eligible. They were items that were mistakenly put in, and the CARES team over there caught it. So it's all but there's a $268.54 charge and an $89.75 charge that were not included. So the $133,660 is the total.
Okay.
You know, without that.
Thank you.
Yes.
Councilmember Wiltz.
Yes, thanks for the update. I appreciate it. And if I was grabbing pens and everything. So if I heard correctly, we've got 9 million plus in expenses.
That's right.
And we've submitted and are approved to be reimbursed for about 130,000. Are you anticipating submitting for the entire rest of the 9 million?
Absolutely. So what we plan to do, as you know, FEMA reimburses at 75%, and we can do the remaining 25% with CARES. So in order to maximize what can be reimbursed, we've been holding some items that we feel are FEMA eligible, just to really maximize that. And so as I explained, we're not quite ready for that FEMA submission until we get our information updated, and then we'll submit for FEMA. And then you'll see this go a lot more quickly at that point.
Great. Do you have an idea of the timeline?
I'm hoping our first submission to FEMA will be Monday, if not before.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, so it will go very quickly. Like as soon as we get this information to FEMA, we can start submitting.
Well, thank you.
So it was just kind of their response to our initial application.
Yeah, thanks for all your work on this. This is great.
Oh, of course. Kathy has another comment too, unless you have more questions for me.
Go ahead, Auditor Smith.
Yes, I did want to tell you guys, we just have 3 people in our financial services department. One is the AP person who's already exceeds 100% all the time. So that leaves just 2 people. the financial director, and the general ledger manager. And of course, we have day-to-day work that has to be done. We're in the middle of the budget. Now we're being audited by the State Board of Accounts, and we just finished the huge GASB project on top of all the COVID, FEMA and CARE stuff that's taken hours and hours and hours. So I did want you to know that this has been extremely difficult, really, with a two-person staff. It's difficult to get our work done during budget time, but then you add all that GASB and you add all this COVID stuff, and it has absolutely been a perfect storm. So I just wanted you guys to know that because, you know, Bree's worked extremely hard. We would have loved to get the budget submitted Friday. It just wasn't possible. And it's not that we're not trying to get all the money back that we can get, but we just don't have a staff that's big enough to do the work that we have, the workload that we have right now. So I wanted to be very honest with you about that. So that if she gets mad and quits, or Sarah gets mad and quits because it's so much on them, you just can't hire somebody quickly to do something that's ad hoc one time, right? They have to have extensive training on our softwares and understand the county. So I did want to put that in there so that both Sarah and Bree know how much you're appreciated, and that we do know, I know, Angie knows, and now you guys know that they are honestly killing themselves to get this stuff done. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments at this point? If not, we'll move on to our next item, which is our thank you to the auditor's office. Appreciate your update this evening. We'll now move on to any council liaison updates. Do we have any liaison updates this evening? Yes, Mr. Iverson.
I have 3, so buckle in. All right, I'm going to start with the health board, which their meeting was last week. Since that time, our county has reached almost 2,500 confirmed cases of SARS-CoV-2. And as of noon today, we are only 26 cases shy of this important milestone. The macabre good news is that deaths in Monroe County have remained stable at 36. And of course, you can see and track all of this information at coronavirus.in.gov. What we know is that positivity rates are coming down, but the per capita rates are still high. Our cases per capita is at 260.1, which is in the red. So our county is still coded orange. The cases per capita are coming down. Last week we were at 277. Again, this week we're at 260. So we're on the right track, but it's going to take some time. And of course, nationally today, Johns Hopkins reported that deaths have now exceeded 200,000 due to the coronavirus. It's now the 3rd leading cause of death for Americans, and it continues to disproportionately affect the Black community. The local health board meeting, which is recorded and posted on CATS, was dedicated to the challenges posed by communal living, in particular at Indiana University. It should be known that our health board, in conjunction with County Legal's Margie Rice, are doing yeoman's work to not only educate, but also protect those at greatest risk. This is not easy, nor is it quick work, and they should be commended for their diligent efforts to reduce the spread of the virus. For those of you watching, we continue to urge the 3 W's: wash your hands, wear your mask, and wait 6 feet apart. The second update I have is from the Substance Use Disorder Community Awareness Commission. They met last week. They're a remarkable group of local experts committed to promoting substance abuse recovery efforts in the county. Notably, tonight, I want to recognize the leadership of Tamara Kirby. She is the treatment consultant and community liaison for the Indiana Center for Recovery, and she has ably led this commission and announced that she's going to be stepping down as the leader of this commission. So I want to publicly thank her for her leadership and dedication to our response to the opioid crisis. And speaking of, there will not be an opioid summit this year due to the coronavirus pandemic, but we hope that it'll return next year. My final liaison update is from the Affordable Housing Commission. And this is really timely because, as we saw from our latest property tax report, home values continue to rise. So For those of you watching and are interested in learning about causes and effects and the rise of valuation, the Monroe County Affordable Housing Commission has 2 webinar opportunities for those interested. First, the Regional Opportunity Initiative is offering their Indiana Uplands webinar series. This is a free webinar series that can be accessed at regionalopportunityinc.org/housing series. And they cover topics including the regional housing study, single family housing, medium density housing, multi-family dwellings, and Hoosier Ready housing toolkits, among other things. So check that out. And secondly, the commission reminds you that the Indiana University Center for Rural Engagement will hold the Indiana University's Rural Conference on Tuesday, September 29th and 30th. All sessions are on Zoom, and you can register for these sessions and keynote addresses at rural.indiana.edu/events. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Iverson. Did I see an update that Ms. Munson wanted to provide? Yes, thank you.
Yes, just one. Tomorrow, the Monroe County Solid Waste Management District Board of Directors will meet for important business, and that is Rumpke Waste and Recycling has requested of the board a determination of need and plan consistency for their proposed resource recovery facility. I would like to point out that this is a transfer station. It is not a landfill, which has certainly been promoted by some websites and text messages. So that's very confusing to the public. It is a transfer station. And we are required as a board to evaluate the need of such a facility and its consistency with the county's solid waste management plan as required by county ordinance enacted in 2007. And this has never been done before, so this is our first time around. We adopted criteria for evaluation, and then we are carrying out the evaluation. And this will be proposed to the board at tomorrow's meeting. The time of that meeting is 3 o'clock. It will be on Zoom, but I cannot give you a link to the packet or to the Zoom connection because the district's website is not working. But what I can give you is a phone number, and you can receive this by email. The packet and the Zoom connection by email. The number for the district is 812-349-2020. So that's the update. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Munson. Any further updates? Okay, seeing none, we'll now move on to item 4, our Highway Department.
Council, I move to approve the Highway Department's request for an additional appropriation in Fund 1176-0531 Motor Vehicle Highway Maintenance and Repair in the amount of $583,170.80 in the supplies category.
Second.
All right, Public Works Director Lisa Ridge is joining us this evening. Welcome.
Good evening. Sorry about that. When we've received the community crossing grant, matching grant funds, it just goes into our cash balance, and then we need to allocate it into our bituminous line so that we can finish those paving projects. And then that's $383,170.80. And then we were asking for an additional $200,000 from our MVH cash balance to be able to complete some more paving projects before the end of the year. And we had kind of held, it was our anticipation to do this at the beginning of the year. However, we wanted to wait until we seen how the pandemic affected our dollars. So we are coming back to you to try and finish our paving program to the best of our abilities.
All right, thank you. Any questions or comments for Ms. Ridge? None? Okay, is there any public comment on this request? Seeing none, we'll have a roll call vote, please.
On the motion to approve the additional appropriations in Fund 1176-0531, Councilor Spoonmore,
Yes.
Councilor Hawk,
Yes.
Councilor Wiltz,
Yes.
Councilor McKim,
Yes.
Councilor Munson,
Yes.
Councilor Deckard,
Yes.
Councilor Iverson.
Yes.
Motion passed unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, on to item 5, please.
Council, I move to approve the Women's Commission Commissioner's Office request in Fund 8159-9620 Maternal and Child Health with an account line 32710 Special Services with an additional appropriation in the amount of $3,500 in the services category.
Second.
All right, Monroe County Treasurer and Women's Commissioner Jessica McClellan is joining us tonight. Welcome, Ms. McClellan.
Good evening, Council. This is a grant that the Women's Commission applied for. It is an Indiana Healthy Workplaces grant. Trent Deckard and I are on this commission. The Women's Commission is going to hold a cooking class, and we're partnering with Banneker. And this grant will pay for the chef that will teach the class, a videographer that will be there to live stream the class. Because of COVID-19, we aren't going to have as many participants as we wanted to. And then to pay for supplies that are needed for a cooking class. We will own those supplies as a county after that, and it's a lot of just basic cooking. It's completely just basic cooking supplies like cutting boards and knives and measuring cups, and we will have those for the future if the Women's Commission wants to continue this program and have it be an annual event. We can continue to do that.
All right. Thank you, Ms. McClellan. Ms. Hawk, did you have a question or comment?
Yes. I just want to request that you include what a lot of young folks have not learned how to do, which they may need to learn how to do, and that is how to make a soup stock. When I was first married with no money, and the butcher always saved me a bone. I had no money for groceries, and he'd save me a bone to make soup stock. And I didn't know how, but he taught me how. I think that's essential that we get back to basics so that those people who will need to be saving dollars and cooking at home will learn how to do that. So I request that to happen either through you or through some fashion, so people will learn how to do that.
That's fantastic, Marty. That's our goal, is to teach people how to live healthily and simply and to learn how to do things on their own again. So I appreciate that. That's a great idea. I love it.
Need to learn some soup stock of my own. Mr. Deckard.
Thank you very much. And thank you, Jessica, for being here. I am extremely proud to be the council's liaison to the Women's Commission. And as you all know, I tend to hog that all to myself sometimes, and I'll fight when I have to give it up. But this Women's Commission is doing dynamic things in so many different ways. Between this, girls coding, the programming on boating and activity and civic engagement is just absolutely awesome. I have to tell you, I leave those meetings and I'm exhausted, and I'm not doing half of what Jessica McClellan is doing as our treasurer and as our liaison. And so this is just an awesome thing. We have appointees on that commission that are doing the things that we want to be done as a county. And it's just absolutely awesome. So I'm happy to support this, of course. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Deckard. Any other questions or comments before we take a roll call vote? All right. Whenever you're ready, Ms. Miller.
Oh, public comment.
Or, I'm sorry. Yeah, we have public. We need to take public comment. Do we have anybody who would like to give public comment? Okay. I don't see any. We'll do a roll call vote, please.
On the motion to approve a new account line and an additional appropriation in Fund 8159-9620, Counselor Wiltz,
Yes.
Counselor Iverson,
Yes.
Counselor Spoonmore,
Yes.
Counselor Munson,
Yes.
Counselor Hawk,
Yes.
Counselor McKim,
Yes.
Counselor Deckard.
Yes.
Motion passed unanimously.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. McClellan. And next up is our prosecutor's office.
Council, I move to approve the prosecutor's request for an additional appropriation in Fund 1170-0009 Public Safety Lit Prosecutor in the amount of $7,914 in the personnel category.
Second.
Okay.
Good
we have a
evening.
motion and a second. Hello, Ms. Hamlin.
Hi, I hope you're all doing well. This is to correct an error that occurred in the budget sessions last year. What happened is we added the domestic violence prosecuting attorney position. We added that line in the PS Lit, but we did not capture that salary in the calculation of these benefits. It was, my mistake. I missed it. So I apologize for that. It's definitely not in error for next year, and I hope you'll approve it.
All right. Thank you. Any questions or comments? Okay. Any public comment? Seeing none, we'll do a roll call vote, please.
On the motion to approve additional appropriations in Fund 1170-0009, Counselor Munson,
Yes.
Counselor McKim,
Yes.
Counselor Deckard,
Yes.
Counselor Hawk,
Yes.
Counselor Spoonmore,
Yes.
Counselor Iverson,
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz.
A very sideways yes.
Sorry, am I
Motion passed
sideways?
unanimously.
You are sideways,
Yeah.
yes.
Is that better?
Oh, there we
Yes.
Now we lost you.
Okay,
You
just
still
in
were
time.
perfect.
Sorry. All right, thank you all very much.
Thank you. Okay, moving right along, our probation department is next.
Okay, Council, I move to approve the probation department's request to create new account lines and for additional appropriations in Fund 9122-0000 JDAI coordination in the amount of $2,999.20 in the supplies category and $7,000.80 in the services category for a total appropriation of $10,000.
Second.
All right, we have Ms. McAfee, Mr. Hartman. I see our friend, Mr. Hatfield is here as well too from probation. Feel free to present at any time. Thanks.
Hey, yeah, Jeff Hartman here. Good evening, Council. As you're aware, Monroe County has been involved with JDAI since 2014. The state provides us with grant dollars in two separate pots, and the coordination is what we're talking about now in programming. And we really don't have much of a say in what they allow. And a big part of that allowance is meeting our service standards. And we have a wonderful JDAI coordinator who's on the call as well, Christine McAfee, who comes with exceptional work ethic, and her efforts as a JDAI coordinator are exceptional. And I'm going to turn the mic over to her to let her speak a little bit about coordination money as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for that, Jeff. Yeah, so we've got two pieces in front of you today, and it's one bucket of money from Department of Correction, but they break it into, as Jeff said, two different pots. So the first one, the smaller amount, is the coordination money. And the food, typically when we have our meetings, we've learned that if you feed them, they will come. And the state allows us to do that. Obviously, this COVID era, we've had to switch things up a little bit. So it is likely that we will be asking for some modification to that as we move forward, but currently that's food. And then there's some travel training. There's quite a bit of opportunity for myself and stakeholders, our community partners, to do some traveling around the state and get additional education, travel, and see how other programs are operating. And then the software line item is for Quest, which is our case management system. And we use those dollars to help support other agencies being able to access a limited amount of the information that's available in our case management system. So that's money available for Quest licenses.
Great. Well, thank you very much. We'll turn to council now. Is any discussion or questions on the request? Any public comment? None there. So we'll have a roll call vote, please.
On the motion to approve new account lines and additional appropriations in Fund 9122, Councilor Hawk?
Yes.
Councilor Deckard?
Yes.
Councilor Iverson?
Yes.
Councilor Wiltz?
Yes.
Councilor McKim?
Yes.
Councilor Munson?
Yes.
Councilor Spoonmore?
Yes.
Motion passed unanimously.
Great, thank you.
I think we've got one more here.
Yep, one more, programming.
Oh, look at that. My apologies. Am I, I'm on. Okay. Council, I move to approve appropriations request to create new account lines for additional appropriations in Fund 9122-000 JDAI coordination in the amount of $9,479.80 in the supplies category and $39,659.20 in the services category for a total appropriation of $49,139.
Second.
I would like to point out, I'm sorry, it should be JDAI programming and not coordination. I did a copy paste.
That'll be reflected in the minutes, JDAI programming.
Thank you.
Not coordination. Yep, thank you. Okay.
So this is,
yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
This is the other kind of bucket of money. So the total that we are being awarded for this grant cycle, which is July 1 of 20 to June 30th of 21, the total amount is $59,139. And just to take a minute and kind of pat probation and the courts on the back, since we've been involved in this program since 2014, with the current award, we will have $489,000 that's been awarded to Monroe County to use to promote the JDAI 8 core strategies. And JDAI is Juvenile Detention Alternatives Initiative. It is a state-led program. There are 5 partner agencies around the state and currently 32 counties in Indiana that are partners with JDAI. And the goal of the program is to provide youth and families with resources and supports that can either get them out of the justice system or, in a perfect world, which is called deep end work, really divert them from the system altogether. So in that vein, the upcoming contract that, or the upcoming grant, we're looking at within the contracting money. We're trying to work to bring a training to Monroe County that will address the issues we're currently seeing with family violence. You know, shelter in place, more quality time with those we hold near and dear is a struggle under the best of circumstances. And some of us are struggling quite a bit, spending that much time at home with folks. And so the Step Up program is what it's called. And again, it's a family violence, which is quite a bit different than a domestic violence intervention. Originally, we had talked to the partners in California and we were set to bring them here. Obviously, in this virtual world, we are making some adjustments to that, but we're hoping to bring that program to Monroe County sometime early spring. We're also partnering with Crossroads, which is an anti-racism organization in training. And currently they are providing one-day workshops. I think we've got the last one scheduled the first part of October. And it's an introduction to systemic racism. And so the contractual dollars are to bring that workshop to our community, but it's a deeper dig. It's actually a 2.5-day interrupting systemic racism. And it really goes beyond looking at the individual and your biases or your implicit biases or your kind of views on things. And it digs deeper into some of the roots of the systemic nature of racism and how can we as leaders in our community start to break some of that cycle. We don't have dates for that. Again, moving a 2.5-day workshop into a virtual platform is a pretty big undertaking. 2.5 days is a long time to sit in front of the computer. So they're still trying to figure out how to make all that work, but that's the bulk of the contractual stuff. There's some incentives and services dollars, which is about $3,000. And just a moment to brag on what it is we've been able to accomplish. We have dollars in our current grant as well. And we are doing barrier busters and incentives for kids and families. We're looking at what is it that might keep kids out of the system, or as I said earlier, maybe get them out sooner. So we're looking at things like memberships to the Boys and Girls Club, memberships to Girls Inc. Do they need a registration fee to play lacrosse? Do they need cleats to be able to play football? Some of those barriers that families might be struggling with, but we know that kids who are doing, busy kids are good kids, are happy kids, are healthy kids. And so we want to do what we can to promote that community engagement. We're also, with the current grant and into the new grant cycles, we partnered with Bloomington Police Department and we provided basketballs and footballs and jump ropes, and they were giving them to their line officers as well as to their community resource officers. It's a great opportunity to approach a kid in one of the parks and just be an icebreaker to try and work on that youth and community or youth and law enforcement engagement, so that every interaction you have with a police officer might not be getting pulled over, might not be something that you were caught doing bad, but kind of that caught you doing good mentality. The other exciting piece I want to make sure we talk a little bit about is the data system, the Quest as well as Tableau, and our ability to use some of these dollars to do an amazing job at visualizing data. One of the core tenets of JDAI is data-driven decisions. And unless you really love data, it can be kind of hard and dry. But with this collaboration with our Tableau software and our Quest Quest case management system, we're really able to provide some amazing systems and look at the data and talk about what kind of referrals are we getting and who are we getting them from? What's happening at disposition for those kids? What's the timeline from the first date we get a referral to the end of the process or to the end of the case? So some really exciting stuff with the data that's making it a much more robust conversation, much more interesting, and frankly, much more meaningful.
All right, very good.
Oh.
Thank you for all the excellent information. Mr. McKim, would you like to start?
Yes, on those data visualizations, is it possible to for us or for other people to see those data visualizations? Will they be part of, we incorporate them in some sort of annual report or website? Or?
I am happy to talk to my powers that be and see how we can make that happen. The interactiveness of it is really within the Tableau software, but there is a free reader software that you can download onto your computer that I would be happy to work with the folks over here in probation and whoever on your end, and absolutely.
Great, I'd be very interested.
And then just for a moment, I was going to say, it's really interactive. Again, you can break it down by zip code. You can break it down by RAGO, which is race, ethnicity, gender, geography, all of that stuff. And it's just really, it provides such a foundation for good conversations.
That's fantastic. And then also, I just wanted to know on the intro to systemic racism class, are there any slots left? I know there were several days.
I can check on that. Well, I checked yesterday, and I think December 12th and October 24th, I think still had openings, but I will check as soon as we get done with this piece and send you an email and let you know.
Thank you.
Yes.
Ms. Munson and then Mr. Iverson.
Yes, on the same topic, topic, Ms. McAfee.
Yeah.
You said that you were planning to make it a virtual program.
Yes.
If you could boil down 2.5 days.
No. What the issue isn't reducing the time. The issue is how to do 2.5 days. You know, currently, if it was in person, it's obviously a much more engaging, much more, you know, you can easily break out, you can have those conversations. In the virtual world, it's still critical to have those hard conversations. It's just more difficult to figure out some of the logistics of it. And as I said, 2.5 days is a long time to be in front of a computer. So
Right.
they're still on their end figuring out how to make that all fit.
Okay. Will you keep us apprised of when there's additional training?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yes.
Very good. Mr. Iverson, and then it looked like Ms. Hawk had a...
I think, as you can tell, you're in a Zoom room full of people that like data. So that's really great to hear about what we can do in Tableau. One of the things that Annie Casey is really good at is data, as you know. And for JDAI, they have stated that they can tell that with initiative sites, they can reduce admissions to secure detention by 57%, and they can show the average daily population in those secure sites is reduced by 50%. In Tableau, can we pull that type of data too? Can we somehow, quantify diversion?
To a certain extent, absolutely. We currently, again, with our Quest case management system, we can pull out some of that hard data and then able to kind of put it into Tableau to make it be more digestible. But with what you just said, I can tell you, again, kind of bragging on Monroe County, I can tell you from our baseline year from 2013, which was the year before we started doing anything, to 2019, we have decreased the average daily population by over 25%. So there are fewer kids in detention on any given day. We have decreased admissions into secure detention by almost 30%. So there are fewer kids actually going into detention. An interesting piece of information is that the average length of stay has actually increased slightly. And that honestly is to be expected, because if we're putting the right kids in, they shouldn't be going in and coming right back out. You know, they shouldn't be staying in for weeks and weeks and weeks. But when we look at our data and realize a child went into secure detention or jail, and that child went in for 48 hours or 72 hours, it causes us to take a step back and consider what was the public safety issue that was resolved within those 48 or 72 hours. So the fact that our length of stay is going up a little bit is a positive reflection on us. The other piece of the Annie Casey JDAI is that this really is a public safety initiative. So this isn't a jailbreak. And so in that period of time between 2013 and 2019, felony petitions that were filed went down almost 70%. So we're not seeing these dramatic reductions in youth being detained while crime is running amok.
That's a huge number. That's fantastic.
Yeah,
especially when tied to felonies.
Thank you.
Because like what happened. I mean, felonies can just change someone's life. That's fantastic. Right. And as you know, in future presentations, I would just love more of this data. That's really great. And I think you're absolutely right to talk about how data can really drive decisions. And as we're in the middle of a budget cycle, some of the ways that you've done this sort of thing, it really makes us think. So thank you.
Thank you. And if you're all data people, you are my people. So.
Good. Councilmember Hawk.
Yes. To the extent that you can, I don't know, perhaps it's not possible, but it would be great if you could do the that information so it could be a part of presented on CATS TV, because there's a lot of people who won't step up and join a meeting but they could learn a lot by listening to the meeting, and they could go in and out of that meeting as they had time to do. So to the extent that you can, I would love to see that happen.
Okay, I will pass that along. Thank you. That's great feedback.
Thank you.
Very good. Anything further? All right. Is there any public comment on this item? Seeing none, we'll have a roll call vote, please.
On the motion to approve new account lines and additional appropriations in Fund 9123, Counselor Iverson,
Yes.
Counselor Spoonmore,
Yes.
Counselor Munson,
Yes.
Counselor Deckard,
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz,
Yes.
Counselor Hawk,
Yes.
Counselor McKim.
Yes.
Motion passed unanimously.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Have a great evening.
You too.
And next up is our Parks Department.
Council, I move to approve the Parks request for an additional appropriation in Fund 1000-0803, General Fund Parks, in the amount of $10,697 in the services category.
Second.
All right. Parks Director Kelly Whitmer is with us. Welcome, Ms. Whitmer.
Thank you. We talked about this last time I visited. It is the water replacement, is the line for the restroom at Cars Farm Park for the athletic complex. We transferred some money from our naturalist positions to contractual, but we're short $10,697. And I will also be asking for a transfer of another $2,900. If everything goes well and we don't hit rock or anything odd, I might be able to give you another $2,900 back if everything goes well.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. Any questions or comments for Ms. Whitmer? Yes, Councilmember Wiltz.
I was just wondering how the project is going, and are you started? And
yes, they have started this week. Things are going well. Knock on wood, we don't run into any rock or any problems. If everything goes just perfect, we'll have the restroom open this Saturday.
Oh, wow.
Oh, great.
So if not, it'll next week.
Yeah, because you have sports happening right now.
Yes, there's athletics at Cars Farm Park, and we have soccer going on, lacrosse going on. There's just, it's very busy, and having that extra restroom to wash your hands, stay 6 feet apart, would be very, very helpful.
Great, thanks.
Yes. Any other questions or comments? Is there any public comment? Seeing none, we'll do a roll call vote, please.
On the motion to approve an additional appropriation in Fund 1000-0803, Counselor Wiltz,
Yes.
Counselor Munson,
Yes.
Counselor Hawk,
Yes.
Counselor Iverson,
Yes.
Counselor McKim,
Yes.
Counselor Spoonmore,
Yes.
Counselor Deckard.
Yes.
Motion passed unanimously.
Okay, and now we'll have the transfer.
Council, I move to approve the Parks request for a category transfer in Fund 1000-0803's General Fund Parks in the amount of $2,900. That's $2,900 from the personnel category to the services category.
Second.
Okay. Anything in addition to add? Probably not. Okay. Any questions or comments from council? Any public comment? Seeing none, we'll do a roll call vote, please.
On the motion to approve the category transfer from the personnel category to the services category in Fund 1000-0803, Counselor Hawk,
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz,
Yes.
Counselor Deckard,
Yes.
Counselor Spoonmore,
Yes.
Counselor Munson,
Yes.
Counselor McKim,
Yes.
Counselor Iverson.
Yes.
Motion passed unanimously.
All right, thank you. Have a good evening.
You too.
Okay, up next, we have a grant for the courts.
Council, I move to approve the court's request for a new account line and an additional appropriation in Fund 9151-000 Legal Services Providers in the amount of $18,939.06 in the services category.
Second.
All right, looks like we have Judge Stafford with us. Welcome, Judge, and Courts Administrator Lisa Abraham. Feel free to start whenever you're ready.
Lisa, you want to start us off?
Sorry, I was unmuting myself. Yes, the court received a court reform grant that's actually divided into 3 sections, and I'm here tonight for all 3 sections, and this is the first one. I'm going to let Judge Stafford, she is the one that did the grant that we received, so I'm going to let her explain all 3 at once. It'll make more sense that way. So Judge Stafford?
All right, thank you so much. Lisa does a great job helping us out, and I sure appreciate her work on this. The court reform grants are administered by the Indiana Office of Court Services, similar to the Family Court Grant. It's money available for innovative ideas this year is how we were able to get these funds. It's about $26,000 in total among the 3 different aspects. What it does is it's helping to provide legal counsel, quality mediation, and social services referral to everyone going through an eviction in Monroe County. We are thrilled to be able to offer these services. We actually applied for and started this project in 2019 before COVID hit, but it has been especially valuable right now, as I'm sure you all can imagine. Our eviction numbers have been 700 or 800 a year typically, and most of the tenants are self-represented litigants or SRL. Most of the landlords tend to have counsel. Some cities and counties are going towards what we would almost call a civil Gideon right of counsel in an eviction hearing. Locally in Indiana, we don't have that. Tenants have no right to an attorney in a civil case or in an eviction case. They may have a counterclaim or a valid defense, but if they don't have the opportunity to talk to someone, they're not going to know that. Similarly, mediation is a tool that will help us not have to ask for a new court and a new judge anytime soon. We're really trying hard to be frugal with taxpayer dollars, and the more we can bring in grant funds and use community mediators, and we're thrilled to partner here with Community Justice and Mediation Center to provide these mediation services, the more we can handle a number of cases without direct involvement from the judge. And the third critical component of this project is trying to make sure that we can refer people going through an eviction to services in the community. That includes the trustee dollars with the increased value of the trustee donations that I know or contributions that have been made by county council. That includes getting people to different homeless shelters. That includes getting people to people who can help them with their public benefits or Veterans Administration benefits that may help them avoid eviction. And I would note that these services are available not only to tenants, but also to self-represented landlords. We have a lot of situations where we have mom and pop landlords who can't afford an attorney, who rely on these rental income payments as part of their regular household budget. And it's a huge issue to them if they have somebody who is not paying them rent or who worse is damaging their unit. And so we are able really with the 2 attorneys we have to be able to represent both sides of the case and give everyone quality representation going through an eviction. I'm thrilled about it. So that's my short version.
All right, thank you.
Happy to hear questions.
Yes. Any questions or discussion from council members on this? Mr. Deckard, please.
I would just say, Judge, my gosh, how timely for an inaugural grant to come. It'd only be better if we had a little bit of experience with the program before all this hit, but thank God it's here. So thank you very much for bringing this to us.
Thank you. Well, we actually were able to start the project in June of 2019. So we did have 6 months, almost 9 months under our belt when COVID hit. during the state of Indiana eviction moratorium, which lasted from mid-March through mid-August, the project was still offering services via Zoom, via telephone, through referrals. We were still doing legal assistance. They were still doing referrals to social services. They were still doing mediations. Now with the CARES Act moratoria and the CDC declaration that is in effect that will evade most evictions through the end of December, having those services is even more valuable right now because tenants need to know what to do and landlords need to know how to handle it and whether it's a valid declaration. So we're thrilled to have the program in place. And frankly, we're a little scared of what's going to happen in January once all of these things are set to expire and what's going to happen. So I'm very grateful we have these projects in place.
Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Iverson?
Yeah, Judge Stafford, the grant is in the amount of $18,000, and it seems to me like the need might be more than $18,000. Am I on the right track there?
Yes, we could use a lot more money, but we are trying to be extremely efficient with these funds. So the way evictions work is it's a two-step process in Indiana. The first hearing is called the possession hearing, and that is just to determine whether the tenant remains in the unit or whether the landlord has the right to possession. The second hearing is called a damages hearing, and that's about 2 months later to give both the landlord and tenant time to do the move-out inspection, to comply with the Indiana security deposit statute, which requires the parties to do a move-out inspection and to have the landlord send a list of what damages they are going to remove from the security deposit. So we have the second hearing after all of that has happened, so we know who owes whom what. And so we do those hearings in a very constrained way, almost as a cattle call hearing. I hate to call it that, where I do them typically an hour of evictions on Thursdays and then an hour of damages. Judge Benkard hears the other half of our local eviction cases. She hears an hour on Friday morning and then an hour of damages. And we are able to then really focus the table's attention on just those 4 hours in court, which means that we're making very efficient use of their time. They were able to get additional funding through a United Way COVID-related grant to provide additional services on Wednesday afternoons. And so Judge Benkard and I have cooperated, and we are setting all of our contested eviction and damages cases for Wednesday afternoon so that those services are still available. So what my concern is that it's likely in January, we will need to almost double the number of hearing slots that we have. Right now, I'm hearing those cases via Zoom. I'm doing all of my court via Zoom. And so instead of 15 cases an hour, I'm now hearing 3 cases every 15 minutes. So we're trying to really stagger it and allow people time to get into the Zoom, trying to work with people submitting exhibits electronically. We're really trying to reduce traffic through the Justice Building for those large number of hearings so that the people in criminal cases who need to be in the building have a little bit freer reign in the hallways.
Excellent. Thank you.
All right. Anything further? Is there any public comment on this item? Looks like we may have some public comment here. Mr. Shelton.
Sorry, I was not unmuted. Jim Shelton with the Chamber, but speaking on behalf of CASA. And I encourage you to approve this. COVID-19 has put a tremendous stress on families. This is one of the areas where that has happened, and that puts children in a more tenuous situation, and we're ending up with many more children in the court system because they've been abused or neglected. So to the extent you can help families deal with the possibility or threat of eviction will certainly help their children. So thank you. I encourage you again to approve this.
Chair, may I add one more small detail?
Sure.
The amount that a private attorney makes per hour is between $200 and $400 in the Bloomington, Monroe County area. The attorneys on this project through the grant funding are getting $28.50 an hour, just to put that in perspective.
Thank you. All right. If there's nothing further, we'll have a roll call vote, please.
On the motion to approve a new account line and an additional appropriation in Fund 9151, Councilor Hawk?
Hear me? Yes.
Councilor McKim?
Yes.
Councilor Spoonmore?
Yes.
Counselor Iverson,
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz,
Yes.
Counselor Munson,
Yes.
Counselor Deckard.
Yes.
Motion passed unanimously.
Council, I move to approve the court's request for a new account line and an additional appropriation in Fund 9152-000, Project Management and Mediation Services in the amount of $7,776 in the services category.
Okay, this is part 2 of the grant that Judge Stafford just spoke about. This is for the mediation services or the project management. So again, this is part 2.
Thank you. If I can just amplify a little bit, CJAM is a longtime local mediation center that trains volunteers in our community. They have done victim offender reconciliation for minor criminal offenses and juvenile offenses, and they have been fantastic about recruiting and training civil mediators for this type of work. They have been training them on housing law, training them to understand the terms that the landlords and the tenants are using, training them on how to fill out court forms and agreements. And this grant helps provide money for that training and coordination. Many of our eviction cases, our eviction hearing settings require 6 mediators because they work in teams, and we might have 3 mediations going on at once. You should see the number of people on a Zoom hearing for these. I might have 20 people before we get any litigants or defendants. Sometimes I'm more a Zoom administrator than a judge, as I'm moving people into breakout rooms and then moving them into the attorney advice breakout room and then the mediation breakout room and then the checkout breakout room. It also helps with the coordination of this. A woman named Tonda Radawan is a longtime local paralegal and community activist, and she has really shepherded this project, and she's done a fabulous job. She keeps us all on our toes, keeps us moving things forward. I can't say enough good things about the work she's done on this in furtherance of this project, the Housing Eviction Prevention Project. So a big thank you. This pays for her work in getting us all coordinated and moving things forward, getting publicity about the project. Even during COVID, she's been active every hour, it seems like, on the Monroe County Mutual Aid Facebook groups, making sure people know how to reach her, making sure she can help refer people and try her very best to help people find alternate housing or other resources if necessary to help prevent eviction.
Very good, thank you. Any discussion or questions? Yes, Ms. Wiltz.
I didn't see this in there, so it might be, but what's the time frame that this money is covering?
This money is for 1 year, and it was given, we got the grant actually, to say, back in January, but I didn't know as a baby judge that I had to come before council and let you know that we got the grant. So we're in that step now.
Okay.
So
baby judge.
I'm sorry, baby judge. Yeah, I've been doing it 1.5 years. Now I like to call myself a toddler judge.
Mm-hmm. Well, you're in front of some toddler counselors too, so it's all good.
I appreciate your patience and grace.
Thanks.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, is there any public comment? No public comment. We'll have a roll call vote, please.
On the motion to approve a new account line and an additional appropriation in Fund 9152, Counselor Deckard?
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz?
Yes.
Counselor McKim?
Yes.
Counselor Munson?
Yes.
Counselor Hawk?
Yes.
Counselor Iverson?
Yes.
Counselor Spoonmore?
Yes.
Motion passed unanimously.
Okay, now we'll move to item C.
Council, I move to approve the court's request for a new account line and an additional appropriation in Fund 9153-000, Housing for Hoosiers, Education and Outreach, in the amount of $2,050 in the supplies category.
Okay, the last section here, this is actually for the copying and the printing materials that they hand out at our eviction table that we house.
So this has gone in large part to printing a handbook called Renting in Indiana, which is available online. Tragically, SIHO is just closed as a nonprofit, Southern Indiana Housing Opportunities. Deborah Meyerson had been its executive director. They've done fantastic work, and they've been a grant partner on this project. We're especially sad to see them close. They were able to work with now retired attorney Marcy Wensler of Indiana Legal Services to put together a fantastic, detailed handbook, and one that's frankly a place where I start my legal research often when I'm working on a case and making sure I know how to rule. Because from there I can find the right sites and the right statutes and the right cases to go and further my research. And we were able to get several copies of that out to key partners in the community, and it's on their website. This part of the grant also paid to keep their website up for several months and make sure that outreach was there. It was very helpful.
Excellent. Any questions, discussion, Ms. Wilkes?
So what's the future of the website?
They have transferred that to another partner entity, and it's still available online, but not through SciHo. I forget the name of the other entity, but it starts with a P. That'll narrow it down on the internet, right?
Yeah, I'll search for that. No, I actually remember seeing that somewhere as well, now that you mention it. And then you'll continue to have some availability of printed versions, or?
Yeah, they were able to print as many as they could. Tonda has those. She gives them out as part of services. Obviously, during COVID, we've been doing everything visual or virtual, so she hasn't been handing them out, but she's been emailing it to people as a PDF document. The handouts are helpful for people who are on the other side of the digital divide, and that still happens. Most important, we are searching now for ways to continue funding this program into 2021 and into the future. I would note that although we don't locally have a rule requiring attorneys in eviction courts, that there are many things that we could be doing. I would note that the state of Indiana allows expungements of a DUI, and now they even have a way to expunge a protection order for domestic violence, but there is no way to expunge an eviction from your record. Once you have an eviction on your record, you cannot expunge it. It is there for forever, and it makes it almost impossible to rent, virtually impossible to get public housing. Most private landlords know to check online and see if you've ever had a private eviction, and it makes it incredibly difficult. I would also note that a big part of my eviction caseload is determining whether a rental property is in the city or in the county, because if it's in the city, then Title 16 of the Property Maintenance Code of the City of Bloomington applies. The county does not yet have any kind of minimum standards for rental housing under the health department codes.
Oh.
Any further questions or comments? All right, is there any public comment? Seeing none, we'll have a roll call vote, please.
On the motion to approve a new account line and an additional appropriation in Fund 9153, Councilor McKim?
Yes.
Councilor Spoonmore?
Yes.
Councilor Munson?
Yes.
Councilor Hawk?
Yes.
Councilor Iverson?
Yes.
Councilor Deckard?
Yes.
Councilor Wiltz?
Yes.
Motion passed unanimously.
I think that was the second one, not the third one, if that matters in the calling of the vote. The third one was for like 2050.
Correct.
Oh.
Is the one that was just called for the amount of 2,050?
The one that was just called, I believe, was for the 9,000, but we'd been discussing the 2,000.
No, I'm sorry. I read the fund number. 9153 is the fund number. That's what I was referring to. I apologize for the confusion. But yes, that's for the $2,050.
Okay.
Very good. So we're all set, I think. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a great evening. Appreciate it.
You too.
I'd like to extend a formal invitation to every member of the county council to come and attend eviction hearings. I think it would be incredibly instructive to you. I would welcome you anytime, any public hearing you're obviously welcome to come to, but I especially invite you to eviction hearings. I would love to have you there. And if you email me, I will get you the Zoom information anytime you want it. Thank you.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good evening. All right, up next is item 10, our health department.
Council, I move to approve the health department's request for new account lines and additional appropriations in Fund 8907-0000 COVID Cares Health IT in the amount of $87,422.08 in the supplies category, $87,422.08 in the services category, and $87,422 $262,422.08 in the capital category, for a total appropriation of $262,266.24.
Second.
All right, we have Penny Caudle, Health Administrator, joining us tonight. Welcome back, Ms. Caudle.
Thank you. Good evening. I am happy to bring this one before you. It's not very often that we get a surprise amount of money that's over $200,000 for IT, for technical upgrades. So the state of Indiana received funding, it's CARES funding that they got for local health departments to really kind of increase our infrastructure and needs around COVID-19. And so we are looking at that. I will tell you, when they first mentioned this, that I thought and was hopeful that they were actually going to connect all the local health departments to the state in a better way. I think that was probably too big of something to do in such a short amount of time. But in the end, I'm also very happy to take this money and spend it in more local, practical ways that we can do to build our own infrastructure. And I have to say a big shout out to Eric Evans for helping us put all of this together. We kind of gathered up, we've got all these different data systems and, you know, data sets and things like that. How can we get a system together so that we can look at the data more easily, or we can have our complaint system and our other processes all in one system? How can we do performance management and processes with our goals? And as we look at COVID-19, how can we do some testing? Can we do online scheduling? All those different kinds of things as we look at vaccine clinics coming up. So Eric was great in terms of helping us come up with items that would be helpful, along with the staff's input on what we needed and what would help them do our jobs better related to COVID-19, and also thinking forward beyond that as well. So we had to submit the budget proposal to the state. And because this is CARES money, it will have to be all spent by the end of the year. So I'm coming to you kind of to get this money appropriated. And once that's approved and we know exactly what are considered supplies and capital and those kinds of things, we'll come back and do some category transfers, I'm sure. But we wanted to get this money available so that as soon as we get that grant back and approval for the items that we requested, that we'll be able to start that process and get things moving.
Great, thank you. Any questions or comments from council members? We get started. All right, is there any public comment on this? Seeing none, we'll have a roll call vote, please.
On the motion to approve new account lines and additional appropriations in Fund 8907, Councilor Munson?
Yes.
Councilor Deckard?
Yes.
Councilor Hawk?
Yes.
Councilor Spoonmore?
Yes.
Councilor Iverson?
Yes.
Councilor Wiltz?
Yes.
Councilor McKim?
Yes.
Motion passed unanimously.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to item B now.
Hey, Council, I move to approve the Health Department's request for a new position in Fund 1159-0000, account line 10067, Financial Manager, and to simultaneously amend the 2020 salary ordinance to include account 10067, Financial Manager, 35 hours, PAT 4 classification, midpoint higher at the 3-year level, with an annual salary of $45,379 to be prorated accordingly for the remainder of the 2020 year.
Second.
All right, so I know we've discussed this in quite a bit of detail previously. Is there anything in addition, Ms. Caudle, that you have on this item? We haven't already discussed.
I don't have a lot other than to say that $200,000 grant. This is another reason that we need that. Bree was talking to you earlier about all the different things, and I know that she's still waiting on information from us. So it's definitely something that we want to fill very quickly. We're hoping that maybe we can get someone who's in the county who knows our financial systems so that it will be an easy transition.
Yes, I was going to say it was a perfect juxtaposition on the agenda tonight with this request versus the grant. And I know we've all discussed this in pretty great detail prior to this meeting, and we've all, I believe, indicated our support for this. So I'm very much happy that we're able to get this done if it passes tonight, and look forward to that. And I know it'll be it's very much needed for you all. So is there any other questions or comments from council members? Ms. Wiltz?
Yeah, I obviously am very supportive of this position as well. I just noticed in reading through here, though, that it's at 35 hours, and we changed some of our other financial managers to be at 40. Is that, is 35 preferred for a reason?
All of our department is at 35. So
that would be awkward.
Yeah.
All right, that's fine.
Yeah. And, we did do it at the midpoint just because it is at the midpoint. So, obviously, if we get someone with even more experience, then we may need to make some changes there as well. The other thing that I would say, and I think I've said this before, is that we don't need an additional appropriation for this. So we've had some vacancies, and we'll be able to fund this for the rest of the year.
Excellent. Mr. Deckard?
I was just going to say that in keeping with some things I've said in the past on other areas, other departments, I think because of the pandemic, the reliance on health departments is certainly not going away. And the things that are going to be coming through, like item A10 and the other things that are either legislated from Congress, state, et cetera, that's only going to magnify in our dependence on our Penny Coddles of the world. So I'm real happy to support this. I appreciate you, Penny, for winding this through the system and being patient as we figured everything out.
Thanks.
Okay. Mr. Iverson?
I think it also bears repeating that 33% of the health department's budget is grant funding. So this is a huge job, and it's going to take a lot of pressure, I hope, off of you, Penny. So this is a great thing to be doing right now.
All right. Is there anything further? Is there any public comment? Seeing none, we'll do a roll call vote, please.
On the motion to approve the financial manager job description and amendment to the 2020 salary ordinance, Councilor Spoonmore?
Yes.
Councilor Iverson?
Yes.
Councilor Wiltz?
Yes.
Councilor McKim?
Yes.
Councilor Munson?
Yes.
Councilor Deckard?
Yes.
Councilor Hawk?
Yes.
Motion passed unanimously.
Thank you.
Okay. We've got another one for the health department. Yes.
One more.
Item C.
Yes. Council, I move to approve the health department's request to amend the 2020 salary ordinance and add a full-time position in Fund 8126, Title 10 Futures 8149, Title 5 Futures, and 8150 10th Futures, account line 10071, nurse practitioner, 35 hours, special occupation, SO, with an annual salary of $81,270, $45,379 of which has been prorated accordingly for the hire date of 6/29/2020.
Second.
All right. Ms. Caudle.
That was a lot, wasn't it? So checks and balances, we came back before you. Actually, I think we started in the spring when our nurse practitioner was going to retire, and we found somebody to come on board part-time, and then at the end of June, she took over full-time. So we had all of those conversations, but in the midst of doing all that, along with COVID-19, we simply overlooked the salary ordinance and checks and balances. As Kim and I were talking, and she was looking over the salary ordinances coming up, going through budget hearings, we caught it. I should say she caught it, I didn't. So full credit to Kim. But we talked about it, and so checks and balances work. And so we're here tonight to just correct that oversight.
Got it. Thank you very much. Any questions? Discussion on this? Is there any public comment? Seeing none, we'll have a roll call vote, please.
On the motion to approve the amendment to the 2020 salary ordinance, Councilor Iverson?
Yes.
Councilor Munson?
Yes.
Councilor Deckard?
Yes.
Councilor Wiltz?
Yes.
Councilor Hawk?
Yes.
Councilor McKim?
Yes.
Councilor Spoonmore?
Yes.
Motion passed unanimously.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Ms. Cottle. Have a great evening.
You too.
Okay, so for item 11, and I apologize, council, I had a plan. My intent was at the beginning of the meeting to amend our agenda to remove this discussion of qualified service providers, volunteer fire department funding, seeing as we still have some things left to button up on our own budget. I thought it would be most prudent to put this discussion off to a later date until we feel a little bit more comfortable with how things are set with the county budget. Is there any objection to that? Okay, I don't see any. So we're gonna skip through this one. We're not gonna have this discussion tonight, but I do very much wanna hold that discussion at a later date, likely in October. So now we'll move on to item 12, council comments. Does anybody have any comment that they'd like to make here before we adjourn? Mr. McKim.
Yes, and I apologize. I'm going to have to drop right after this. So I'll just be brief. I am, as we heard from the auditor earlier, the auditor's office has been entering information into Gateway. And so what I've been doing is cross-checking what they have against our draft 4B and modifying our numbers as they make their corrections, but also I had a couple of questions for verification as well. So you'll probably see some changes in our draft 4B, nothing that will be, I think, material to any of the decisions we'll make. In fact, most of them will be in our favor. I am making some, on the draft, some suggested modifications, reallocations of the levy. So we may want to talk about that in more detail on our next meeting, but some kind of reallocations from general and election, which are particularly well funded, to aviation and reassessment, and in particular reassessment, which is actually would be negative if we pass the budget and levies as is. So you may want to take a look at that draft, and hopefully, we'll kind of, as the auditor's office gets their data and Gateway actually submitted, we'll be able to kind of put a lock on our draft 4B as well, and then concentrate more on using it to project a couple of years down the line, which I've already built into that spreadsheet, but I think it'll give us a better idea of what we're going to have in 2022 and 2023. So does anybody have any questions for me on that?
Yes, Councilor Hawk.
It's not a question, but a comment. I mean, the fact that you put together that draft 4B was so very helpful, so that when we go into Gateway, as we all have the opportunity to do, to go in to see where the numbers are and what numbers have been entered, it was very easy to come back and compare that to what the numbers were for 2020 and also what the projections were for 2021. It was easy to see where some changes had to be made. And so I'm glad the auditor's office have reviewed those, and they're making some of those changes. But I just think it is kudos to Jeff McKim for making sure that we all have the opportunity to see what our adjusted numbers could be, what they can look like, because after all, it is our decision. We're the ones who will be voting on these numbers. So I wanted to say thank you.
Yes, I always feel like it's good to have two different people doing the same kinds of calculations, and hopefully you come up with around the same answers.
Right. That's what Greg Garrett taught us in those classes that we went to, was to make sure we had two sets of eyes. In our case, we probably have 7 sets of eyes looking at it. But that's the exciting part about being on county council, just looking at numbers. If you don't like numbers, don't get on the council.
Well, thank you all, and I apologize that I have to drop off.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor McKim. Have a good evening.
And
yes, Ms. Hawk?
Well, that was just a comment about what Jeff was speaking of. But if it's time for council comments, I wanted to say briefly, and mainly because I am the liaison for the Monroe County Fire District, and I happened to just be on the phone with them when they were out there fighting that fire. And I could hear some of them coming back in, and I'm saying, were there any injuries and so forth? Until you see the community so challenged with what could be a life and death situation, and you see the fire departments coming together and working together, and the people out there just really doing everything they can do. I wanted to say kudos to them and to all of the first responders who simply put Monroe County citizens first. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or Mr. Deckard?
I was just going to add to what Marty said. An awful situation for those families with those fires, but I'm so grateful that we have those departments that came together. I could see on the coverage alone, you could see Van Buren, you could see the district, you could see the city, and that was a remarkable thing. And and that's not too far from the city itself. As we think about all of the county and the reality that we all want to live safely, be safe. This is why supporting those departments and their needs as that evolves, just like with what we're saying with Penny, these things evolve over time. What do we have to do as a county, as a community, to come together and do that? And good heavens, we never know when we will need that help. So thank you to the district, thank you to the city. Firefighters are responding. Van Buren, I'm probably missing someone. Of course, our EMTs, just awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, there's certainly a lot going on in Monroe County right now with fire protection, and those types of events where very tragic events really make you understand and drive home why it is so important that we have the very best fire protection possible for our residents here in this county. So it was a very tragic event, and I'm glad there were no injuries. But yeah, very, very serious situation there. Any other comments? Okay, seeing none, we will adjourn this meeting. We'll see everybody next time. Have a good evening.
Thank you.